Chapter 1. The crack in my worldie always thought I was good at reading people. I thought I could see through lies, catch the shift in someone's voice when the truth started to slip. But when it came to her, I was blind. Completely. Pathetically. Blind. Hey, I'll be late again tonight. Deadline at work, she said, dropping her keys on the table. Not even meeting my eyes. How late? I asked, already knowing the answer. Already hating myself for asking. She shrugged, pulling off her heels. Depends. Maybe midnight. There was a time I would have believed her. That time was gone. The word still stung, though. I stared at the window as she moved around the apartment. My mind drifted back to the last few weeks. Her phone always turned face down. The sudden text notification she hid with a swipe. The shower that always lasted too long when she got home late. I tried to push the thoughts away. I told myself I was being paranoid. People at work got busy. Relationships had rough patches. But the crack was there, small, sharp, growing. That night, she came home at 1:30 a.m. The apartment filled with the cold scent of someone else's cologne. She climbed into bed without a word. I lay awake, listening to her breathe. Every inhale was a lie. The next morning, I tried to talk to her. Are you happy? I asked, pouring coffee. My hands shaking just enough to spill a few drops on the counter. She rolled her eyes. Don't start, please. I'm tired. Tired of what? I pressed. Tired of me, or tired of pretending? She slammed her mug down, splashing coffee over the rim. What's your problem? Why are you acting so weird lately? My problem? I laughed. But it didn't sound like me. You're coming home at 2 a.m. almost every night. You hardly speak to me anymore. Just tell me, please. She stared at me, cold and empty. It's nothing. Work is just stressful. You wouldn't get it. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said nothing. I let her leave, watched the door close. Behind her, listened to the silence that followed. My phone buzzed around, knew my best friend checking in. Again. You all right, man? You don't sound like yourself these days. I almost told him everything, but the words caught in my throat. I'm fine. Just tired. He didn't believe me. I didn't believe myself. That weekend, I waited for her to come home. She walked in, looking startled to see me sitting on the couch in the dark. What are you doing? She asked, flicking on the lights. Waiting for you, I replied. Who is he? She didn't even flinch. She just sighed, set her purse down, and finally looked me in the eye. If you know, then why ask? Something inside me broke. I felt it, like glass shattering behind my ribs. How long? My voice was so small I almost didn't recognize it. She shrugged. A few months. Does it matter? It did. It mattered. So much I couldn't breathe. Why? I whispered. She walked to the kitchen, poured herself water. I got bored. You're always so careful, so predictable. He's exciting. He makes me feel alive. But I figured you'd never leave. You're too good, too nice. That's when I realized what she truly thought of me. A safe place to keep her things, a steady shadow that would always be there, even when she needed the thrill of someone else. I stared at her, trying to find any sign of the girl I loved. She was gone. Maybe she'd been gone for longer than I wanted to admit. She took her glass and walked past me, not even pausing. I'm going to shower. I sat there for a long time after she closed the door. My hands shook, my eyes burned. I felt stupid, hollowed out. But somewhere, buried deep in the ache, something colder started to rise. If she thought I would stay, if she believed I'd just let her walk all over me, she was wrong. She had no idea what I could do when I finally stopped caring. The crack in my world was no longer just a line. It was a canyon, wide and dark, and for the first time in months, I wanted to see what waited at the bottom. Chapter 2. Shattered trust. He tried to keep things normal, at least on the outside. I woke up, made coffee, went through my routines. But nothing felt real anymore. Every word she spoke was like a test. Every smile was a warning sign. That morning, she scrolled through her phone at the kitchen table, eyes darting up just once as I walked by. "You're quiet today," she said, voice flat. I shrugged, sipping my coffee. Nothing to say. She didn't look up. "I'm heading out early. I'll be home late." I almost laughed. "Let me guess, big project." Her eyes finally met mine. There was something mean in her smile. At least someone appreciates my hard work. I bit my tongue, staring at the table. The old me would have begged for answers. This new me, still raw, still aching, just wanted the truth. "You ever feel bad about lying to my face?" I asked, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. She put her phone down, folding her arms. "I told you already. If you don't trust me, that's on you." I stood up, tired of the game. "I saw the messages. You don't even try to hide them anymore." She blinked, surprised. "What messages?" "With him. The plans, the photos. It's all there." For a second, her mask slipped, but just as quickly, it was back. "So what? You want me to apologize?" I wanted her to, more than anything. But I could see she wasn't sorry. "No," I said quietly. "I want you to stop treating me like I'm stupid." She scoffed. "You're the one still here." She grabbed her bag and left without another word. The door slammed behind her, rattling the frames on the wall. The silence that followed was sharp, bitter. I called my best friend. He picked up on the first ring. "What happened?" I hesitated. She admitted it. She doesn't even care. He cursed under his breath. "You gotta get out, man. She's not gonna change." I rubbed my eyes. What if I'm the problem? What if I drove her to this? "Don't you dare," he said. "She made her choices. You don't deserve this." Maybe he was right. Maybe he just wanted me to believe I was worth more. My sister called that afternoon. I let it go to voicemail, but she texted anyway. "Come over tonight. Let's talk." "You need a break from her." I started to type a reply, but I stopped. What could I say? That I was too weak to leave. That I still hoped she'd pick me. That night, she came home later than usual. Her perfume was different, stronger. I waited up for her, lights low, just to see if she'd say anything. She dropped her purse and looked at me like I was in her way. "Why are you always waiting for me? Why are you always leaving?" I shot back. She rolled her eyes. "Maybe because it's easier than listening to you whine." Something inside me snapped. "You used to love coming home to me." She laughed, harsh and cold. "People change." "Yeah, they do." My voice was strange, cold, unfamiliar. She looked at me, really looked, for the first time in weeks. "Are you gonna leave, then? Or just keep hanging around hoping I'll change my mind?" "I haven't decided yet," I replied, refusing to give her the satisfaction. She shrugged, walking away. "Let me know when you figure it out." I sat on the couch for hours, staring at the wall. My mind replayed every moment, every laugh, every fight, every quiet night together. All lies. Now, I thought about packing a bag. I thought about calling her bluff. But something in me needed more. Not answers, not closure. Something colder. The next day, my best friend showed up at my door. He looked at me like I was a ghost. "You look like hell." I managed a weak smile. "Feels about right." He sat down beside me, putting a hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to do this alone. You want to stay with me for a while." I shook my head. "Not yet. I'm not done here." He didn't ask what I meant. Maybe he could see it in my eyes. I wasn't just hurt. I was changing. That night, she came home with a laugh in her voice, talking on the phone to someone else. As she walked past me, I listened to every word. I heard her say my name, but not with love, just as a joke, a punchline. I clenched my fists, swallowing the pain. I realized something. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She never had been. She thought I would always be here, waiting, hoping, forgiving. She didn't know me at all. Later, when she hung up, I stood in the doorway. Was it him? She didn't even bother denying it. Why do you care? I don't, I said, surprising even myself. She smirked. That's new. I nodded. Yeah, it is. For the first time. I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes as she disappeared into the bedroom. I sat back down and started making a plan. If she wanted to see how cruel I could be, maybe it was time I showed her. Chapter 3. The first move. I didn't pack my bags. I didn't shout or plead. I just stopped trying. That was the first move. Silence. Days passed, each one colder than the last. She would come home, eyes on her phone, tossing her things on the counter. I'd sit in the living room, scrolling through channels I wasn't really watching. She tried to bait me. I'm going out with friends tonight, she said one evening, slipping on a dress I hadn't seen in months. Okay, I said, not looking up. She paused, lipstick halfway to her mouth. Aren't you going to ask who? I shrugged. You'll tell me if you want to. She stared at me, waiting for the argument, the jealousy. All she got was quiet. Whatever, she muttered and slammed the bathroom door. I listened to her get ready, each brush stroke and drawer slam echoing through the apartment. I waited for the guilt to come, but it didn't. All I felt was a strange, cold attachment. My phone buzzed. My best friend again. You holding up? I typed back. Yeah. Trying something different. What's that? Nothing. Literally. He sent a thumbs up, but I could tell he didn't get it. She came home at 2 a.m., heels clicking on the floor, her perfume sharp and unfamiliar. I was awake, pretending to sleep. She stood in the doorway for a moment, as if expecting me to say something. When I didn't, she went to bed without a word. The next morning, she tried again. Did you have dinner? She asked, pouring coffee. Yeah, I said, not offering more. She waited. With who? I smiled faintly. Just me. She frowned, stirring her mug. You're acting weird. I shrugged. I guess I am. She studied me for a long time. Are you mad at me? I sipped my coffee. Should I be? She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed her phone and started texting, her fingers moving too quickly, face flushed. I let her stew in it. Later that week, I ran into her close friend at the grocery store. We made awkward small talk in the produce aisle. She leaned and whispering, she's not herself lately. Keep saying you're distant. I forced a smile. People change, I guess. She eyed me for a second, then nodded, almost approvingly. Maybe that's a good thing. I bought what I needed and left, heart pounding. I knew her friend would report back. That was part of the plan. That night, she sat on the couch while I watched TV, her arms folded tight. Are you ignoring me? On purpose? She demanded. I shook my head. No. I'm just tired. Tired of what? Of fighting. Of pretending everything's fine. She huffed. So that's it. You're just going to sit there? I looked at her. Really looked. What do you want me to do? She stared at me like I was someone she didn't recognize. I want you to care. I did. I said softly. For a long time. She bit her lip, glanced away. I never thought you'd just give up. I nodded. Neither did I. Her phone buzzed. Breaking the tension, she read the message, then tossed it aside. I'm going out. All right, I replied, eyes never leaving the screen. She hesitated in the hallway, waiting for me to say something, anything. When I didn't, she left, the door slamming behind her. The house felt emptier, but not in the way I expected. I sat alone, replaying the conversation. Her anger, her confusion, her fear. It was working. For the first time, I wasn't chasing her. She was starting to chase me. My sister called that night. I let it go to voicemail. I needed this space, this silence, to figure out my next step. She came home earlier than usual, tiptoeing into the bedroom. I pretended to sleep. The next day, she made breakfast, eggs and toast, the way I used to like. She slid a plate in front of me without a word. I ate in silence. She watched me, biting her nails. I'm sorry, she said finally, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. Thanks. She waited for more, but I had nothing left to give her. My silence was my answer. Later, I heard her on the phone with her friend, voice frantic. "He's changed. He doesn't even care anymore." Her friend tried to comfort her, but she sounded just as lost. I stood in the hallway, unseen, listening to the panic in her voice. It was the first time I'd heard her afraid of losing me. That's when I knew the first move was working. My silence was louder than any argument. My distance was sharper than any accusation. I started to feel strong again, maybe not whole, but no longer broken. She tried a few more times that week. Dinners, small talk, asking about my day. I kept my answers short, my tone even. The more she reached out, the more I pulled away. By the end of the week, the apartment was a battlefield of unsaid words and silent wars. She was starting to realize she'd lost something. Maybe she couldn't name it yet, but I could see it in her eyes every time she looked at me. The first move wasn't about hurting her. It was about finding myself in the quiet, in the spaces she used to fill with lies. And for the first time, I felt ready to see what would happen next. Chapter 4. The second move. Vesh started to notice things were changing, but I don't think she understood how deep the shift was. I moved through the apartment like a guest in someone else's home, never lingering, never arguing, never begging for scraps of her attention. The second move was detachment. I took back my time, my money, my energy. She didn't like it, not one bit. One morning, she tried to hand me her credit card bill across the table. "Can you take care of this for me? I'm short this month." I slid it back to her. "You'll have to handle it." She blinked. "You always help me out." I shrugged. "Not anymore." A flicker of panic flashed in her eyes. "What's your problem?" "No problem," I said quietly. "Just handling my own things now." She scoffed, pushing away from the table. "Fine. I'll figure it out." That day, I went to work early and stayed late. I didn't text her, didn't check in, didn't bother with updates. My colleague, Marcus, stopped me by the coffee machine. "You look different, man. Lighter." I smiled for the first time in weeks. "I'm done carrying things that aren't mine." He raised an eyebrow, then clapped me on the back. "Good for you." I left work feeling strange, free, but nervous. I'd always been the fixer, the one who made everything easier for her. Now I was making things easier for myself. When I got home, she was already there, scrolling through her phone, waiting for me. "Where were you?" she asked, not looking up. "I had things to do," I replied, hanging up my jacket. She frowned. "You usually let me know." "I don't see why." "Anymore." She set her phone down, watching me carefully. "Are you seeing someone else?" The question surprised me. I almost laughed. "No, just seeing myself for once." She scoffed, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, right, for the next week." I kept my distance. I stopped fixing her problems. She noticed that her car needed gas. I let her run out. She forgot her lunch. I let her go hungry. Her friends asked about us. I let her answer. I started going out with Marcus and some friends from work, coming home later and later. I didn't give explanations. I didn't answer her calls right away. Sometimes I didn't answer at all. One evening, she was waiting for me in the hallway. "You're late," she said, crossing her arms. I brushed past her. "At dinner with friends." She followed me. "Why didn't you text?" I didn't think it mattered. "It does to me." I turned around, finally meeting her eyes. "Since when?" She looked away, unable to answer. The detachment started to rattle her. She tried to guilt me back into old habits, tried to act sweet and apologetic. One night, she even made my favorite dinner. "Want to eat together?" she asked, voice soft. I shook my head. "I already ate." She sat down, picking at her food in silence. "Is this payback? Are you trying to punish me?" "No," I replied honestly. "I'm just tired of pretending." She slammed her fork down. "You used to love me." I did, I admitted. "But I love myself, too." I forgot that for a while. Her eyes filled with tears. "So what now? You're just going to leave?" I haven't decided, I said, echoing her words from before. She wiped her eyes angrily. I can't believe you're doing this, I shrugged. Believe it, the next day. Her close friend messaged me. She says you're not the same. You okay? Better than I've been in a long time. I replied. The shift was real, and people around us could feel it. I stopped being her backup plan, her emotional punching bag, her safety net. One night, as I was heading out, she stood in the doorway. Where are you going? She demanded. Out. With who? Friends. She scoffed. You never used to go out this much. I never used to be alone this much. She stepped aside, and for the first time, I saw real fear on her face. Not the fear of losing control, but the fear of being left behind. I left her standing there, realizing the detachment was more powerful than any argument, any threat, any plea for attention. When I got home, she was asleep on the couch, phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. I watched her for a moment, wondering when I stopped feeling sorry for her. The next morning, she asked, "Are we okay?" I looked her in the eye. I don't know. Are we? She had no answer. I started to see glimpses of the person I used to be, confident, calm, and capable every day. My detachment grew, and so did her desperation. The second move wasn't loud. It was quiet, steady, and impossible for her to ignore. And with every day that passed, I felt less like her shadow and more like myself. Chapter 5. The third move of days of silence and detachment changed the air between us. But she still didn't believe I'd ever really let go. That's when I realized it was time for the third move. Exposure. No more hiding, no more protecting her from herself. The truth was going to breathe, even if it burned. That morning, I watched her pace the living room, phone pressed to her ear. I could tell by her voice that she was talking to him. When she hung up, she didn't even notice me standing in the hallway. I stepped out, voice calm, having a good chat. She spun around, eyes wide. Were you listening? No, I said. But I don't need to. Everyone knows already. Her face twisted. What are you talking about? I told your family, your friends, even your boss. I'm done covering for you. She dropped her phone, face drained of color. You're lying? Call them. I said, go ahead. She didn't move. A knock at the door interrupted us. Her brother stood there, jaw tight. We need to talk, he said, looking straight at her. Now, she looked at me, panic blooming in her eyes. Why would you do this? I held her gaze. Because I was tired of lying for you, tired of pretending. You always thought I'd take the blame. Carry your secrets, not anymore. Her brother stepped inside. Mom's devastated. Dad won't speak to you. She tried to protest, but he held up his hand. Enough. You need to face what you've done. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. You can't just walk away after ruining my life. I pulled free, my voice steady. You ruined your own life. I just stopped, hiding it. She burst into tears, collapsing onto the couch. Her phone rang. Her lover's name flashed across the screen. I watched her stare at it, torn. She didn't answer. She looked up at me, mascara streaked. What are you trying to prove? That you're stronger? That you're cruel? I shook my head. No, I'm just done being your fool. The next day, I got a call from her lover. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. His voice was shaky. What's going on? She told me you. She lied to both of us. I interrupted. If you want her, she's all yours. Good luck. He was silent, then hung up. That evening, I got a message from her mother. Thank you for telling us the truth. I'm sorry for everything you went through. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. She avoided me for days after that, when we did cross paths. Her words were brittle. Are you happy now? No, I said. But I'm not miserable anymore. She tried to fight back, calling me petty, vengeful, heartless. But every insult just bounced off. I'd heard them all before, just never with so much emptiness. Her friends stopped coming over. The invitations to parties, dinners, and drinks disappeared. Even her boss looked at her differently now, keeping things polite but distant. One evening, her lover showed up at our door, his face tight with confusion and regret. He turned to her, voice low. I can't do this. I didn't know about all the lies, about what you did to him. She reached for him, but he stepped back. Don't. I'm done. He looked at me, nodding once, almost an apology, and left. She turned to me, fury and despair battling in her eyes. Are you happy you broke me? I shook my head. No, you broke yourself. I just let the world see it, she screamed, throwing a glass across the room. It shattered, sharp and final. I stood there, unflinching. You can blame me if it helps, but we both know whose choices brought us here. She fell to her knees, sobbing. I left the room, closing the door behind me. For the first time, she was alone with the mess she made. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel cruel. I just felt finished. The third move wasn't about hurting her. It was about ending the game. Letting the truth breathe had consequences for both of us. The silence in the apartment was different now. It wasn't cold or angry. It was honest. And for the first time in forever, I felt ready to start over. No more lies. No more secrets. No more her. Chapter 6. The downfall of the apartment felt haunted after that. She drifted from room to room, her energy sharp and desperate, like a ghost trying to find his old life. I stayed out of her way, but sometimes I'd see her just standing in the hallway, clutching her phone, hoping it would ring. One afternoon, I found her crying in the kitchen, shoulders shaking. She didn't see me at first. I cleared my throat. You okay? She wiped her eyes fast. Does it matter? I shrugged. Maybe not to you, but you used to matter to me. Her voice broke. You're cold. You never used to be like this. I leaned against the doorframe. You never used to lie to me. She looked at me, pain and anger swirling in her eyes. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me fall apart. I shook my head. No, but I'm not going to pretend anymore, either. Her phone finally buzzed. She snatched it up, hope flickering. Her face felt just a work notification. Everyone hates me now, she whispered. My mom, my friends, even him. You earned it, I said, voice steady but not unkind. She threw her phone down. Don't you feel anything? Not even a little bit sorry for me? I thought about it. I feel sorry that you ruined what we had, but not for the choices you made after. She started pacing. What am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to fix this? That's not my problem, I replied. For once, it's yours. She kept trying to draw me into fights about money. The apartment. Who would tell our friends what? I refused to argue. I just kept my answers short. Why are you being so difficult? She snapped one evening. I put my jacket on. I'm not being difficult. I'm just done making it easy for you. She stormed off, slamming her bedroom door. I heard her crying, then silence. The weekend, I saw my old friend, Marcus. He looked me up and down. Man, you look better. Happier, even. I shrugged. I feel lighter. He nodded. She knows she messed up. I laughed. Just a little. She knows. Everyone does. He clapped my shoulder. Good. It's about time. My sister called that night. Are you really leaving her? She asked, voice gentle. I think I already have, I said. Just hadn't moved out yet. She sighed. I'm proud of you. You deserve better. Back at the apartment, she was sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. She looked up as I came in. Did you have fun? Yeah. I needed it, she sniffed, wiping her nose. I miss when we were close. I sat across from her, keeping my distance. Me too. But we're not those people anymore. She shook her head. I wish I could take it back. I believed her, but it was too late. Her family stopped calling. Her friends answered her texts with one-word replies. The man she left me for never showed up again. She started leaving notes for me, asking if we could talk, if we could try again. I never responded. One day, a mutual friend stopped by to pick up some things he'd left behind. He looked at both of us, shaking his head. "You two used to be solid. What happened?" she burst out. "He gave up on me." I stared at her, calm. "You gave up first." He left quickly, uncomfortable with the tension. She stared at the door after he left. "Is that really how you see it, that I gave up first?" I nodded. "I tried, over and over. You just didn't care." She wiped another tear away. "I didn't think you'd ever stop trying." I stood up, grabbing my keys. Everyone stops, eventually. As I left, I heard her crying behind me. But this time, I didn't feel guilt or pity, just a strange sense of relief. The spell was broken. The night, I dreamed of empty spaces, rooms full of light and air, no shadows lurking in the corners. For the first time in a long time, I woke up without a knot in my chest. The apartment was still quiet the next morning, but the quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt honest. She passed me in the hallway, eyes red. "Are you leaving today? Soon?" I said. She nodded, looking down at her feet. "I'm sorry for everything." I let her words hang in the air, not needing to answer. As I started to pack my things, she sat on the couch, silent. No more fighting, no more blame. Just a people sitting in the ruins of what they built. I looked her down, realizing I had survived. The worst part, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was free. And she, for the first time, was truly alone with what she'd done. Chapter 7. Karma's hand. After I started packing, the days blurred. I moved my things out bit by bit, first the small stuff, then the clothes, then the memories. Every box I carried felt like lifting a piece of her power off my shoulders. She hardly spoke, just watched from the couch. Once, she tried to start a conversation, but I could tell her heart wasn't in it. The reality of being left was setting in. For her, it was a new pain. On the day I finally handed back my keys, she followed me to the door. "Are you really going?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I am." She stared at the ground, twisting her hands. "What am I supposed to do now?" "That's for you to figure out," I said, gentle but firm. I walked out without looking back. The weight in my chest was gone. A week passed before I heard anything about her. Marcus texted me first. "Saw her at the bar last night. She looked rough, man." I sent back, "She'll have to get used to it." I started seeing life as my own again. I had dinner with friends. I slept through the night. I went for walks without feeling watched or worried. Every time I thought about her, the ache was duller, smaller. She tried to reach out a few times. Voicemails, messages, late-night calls. I didn't answer. I let silence say what words never could. One evening, her mother called me. "She's not doing well," she said quietly. "She cries all the time. She misses you." "I know," I said, "but I can't go back. She has to face this." Her mom sighed, understanding more than I expected. "I just hope she learns. Karma doesn't always strike with thunder. Sometimes it's quiet, just doors closing, people turning away, laughter fading when she enters the room." The friends who cheered her on started to disappear. Her lover moved on to someone new, blocking her number without warning. I heard stories. She tried to go out, tried to act like she didn't care. But word gets around fast when you burn everyone you know. Soon, she was eating lunch alone, scrolling her phone for messages that never came. A month later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked thinner, tired, haunted by sleepless nights. She forced a smile. "You look good." I nodded. "Thanks." We stood there, awkward in the aisle. She searched my eyes for some hint of the old me, but all I had left was polite distance. "Do you hate me?" she asked, voice trembling. I shook my head. "No, I just don't feel anything anymore." She nodded, biting her lip. "I get it. I do. I wish I hadn't let you go." "I wish you hadn't either," I said, honest and calm. "But it's still late." She looked away. He left. Everyone left. I keep thinking maybe I deserve it. I didn't argue. I just let her sit in her own truth. As I left the store, I felt a strange sense of peace. There was no more anger, no more revenge. Just the quiet justice of letting life do what it does. Weeks passed. People who used to only talk about her started talking to me again. My friends invited me places. My family smiled more when I called. The world started to open up. One night, Marcus and I sat outside, sharing a drink. He grinned. "You did the right thing, you know." I smiled back. "I just stopped doing the wrong thing." He raised his glass to moving on. I clinked his glass to freedom. I got one last message from her a few weeks later. Just 3 words. "I'm so sorry." I stared at the screen for a while before deleting it. I didn't need an apology anymore. Karma had finished the work I started. She'd lost everyone, not by my hand, but by her own. People talk about revenge, about payback, about getting even. But sometimes, the best justice is letting go and letting the world do the rest. I watched the sun set that night, warm and gold, and realized I was finally free, not just from her, but from the weight of caring what happened to someone who never cared about me. Chapter 8. My ruthless piece at last of my boxes sat in the trunk of my car, and I leaned against the cool metal, breathing in the evening air. Everything felt lighter: my heart, my head, even the world around me. For so long, I'd let her moods, her lies, her needs define my days. Now, the silence was my own. I moved into a small place across town. It wasn't much, but it was mine. My own space, no ghosts in the hallway, no whispers from behind a locked bathroom door. The first night alone, I lay on my back and listened to the quiet. It didn't feel empty, it felt peaceful, like I could finally hear myself think. I made dinner for one, watched whatever I wanted, and slept without waiting for a door to open in the middle of the night. A few days later, my sister stopped by with groceries and a bottle of wine. She grinned as she walked in. "Look at you." I barely recognized this guy. I laughed. "You mean the guy who finally figured out how to use a dishwasher?" She sat with me, asking how I was really doing. For the first time in months, I told the truth. "I'm okay. Some days hurt, but most of them feel good. It's quiet. I like it." She nodded. "You deserve quiet, and you deserve someone who makes you feel safe." We clinked glasses. I felt a warmth I'd almost forgotten. Marcus called one night. "Man, we're going out. You coming?" "Yeah," I said, not hesitating. "I am." We laughed, told stories, acted like kids again. I realized how much of myself I'd given up to keep a broken thing together. I swore I'd never do it again. One morning, as I was heading out, I got a knock at my door. I opened it to see her hair unwashed, eyes tired, hands twisting nervously. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She sat on the edge of my couch, eyes darting everywhere, but at me. "I don't know why I'm here," she started. I can't stop thinking about what I lost." I let her talk. She apologized again, softer this time. She cried a little, asked if I could ever forgive her. "I already did," I said. "Not for you, for me. I can't carry this forever." She wiped her eyes, nodding. "I wish I could go back." I shook my head. I wouldn't want to lose myself again." She stood to leave, pausing at the door. "You were the best thing I had." I smiled, sad and honest. "Take care of yourself." She left. I watched her walk away, and for the first time, I didn't feel anything, not anger, not pity, not longing, just peace. That night, I lay in bed, thinking about everything I'd lost and everything I'd finally found. I realized the cruelest thing I could do was nothing at all, just move on, let her sit with her choices, and live my life without her. Sometimes people say revenge is about getting even, but I learned that sometimes true revenge is living well, finding joy in small things, loving myself enough to never settle again, letting go of the past no matter how deep the scars. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a quiet strength inside me, steady and calm. I didn't need anyone to see it or even to understand it. It was mine. In the end, she taught me something she never intended. Sometimes the most ruthless thing you can do is simply walk away and never look back.